Okay, so what we're looking at today is we're looking at how to start generating some audience feedback using SurveyMonkey. So this is for the purpose of later in your design stage when you have 3 unique concepts for a particular design solution and you're wishing to use audience feedback to decide which of the concepts best suits your purpose and addresses the items within your brief. So of course you have 2 concepts, so you'll have 3 different versions for each of your 2 concepts. So you may want to look at doing 2 different surveys or trying to put them all into the one survey. Now the first thing that we're going to need to do is, as you can see in Illustrator here, I've got all 3 of my concepts and I've put them all onto the same page in a big banner here. So that's the first thing that we need to do, is create an image of all 3. So what I'm going to do is I'll hit Control-Shift-Alt-S, which saves for web. I'll shrink that down there. And I'm just going to save it at 1200 wide, which is going to be really good for my for incorporating into SurveyMonkey. So I'm going to hit save here. And then I'm going to call this all 3, and I'm just going to save it to my desktop for now. Now what I need to do is I need to start creating additional artboards. I want to create an artboard of each one individually, because a lot of what you need to do with the survey is you need to show them each one individually and get that individual feedback. So I've created a little square artboard here, and I'm just clicking and dragging, holding the Alt button to create a copy. Now I'm going to Control-Shift-Alt-S that, save that for web. I'll save that at, say, 800 pixels wide. So this is concept 1, so we'll call that concept 1. Now I'm going to continue going ahead and doing the same with the others. So just clicking, save as, 800 pixels, call that concept 2. And of course the third one, which we'll drag there, and 800 pixels again, and we'll call that concept 3. Now you can save it as a JPEG or a PNG, either is going to be fine. So that's the first thing. If you haven't done it in Illustrator, you can of course do exactly the same thing if you've done your design in Photoshop. If all of these are hand-drawn, then you're going to need to either scan or photograph these designs. But what's important is that you have at least one image with all 3 together so that you can ask comparative questions, and then one image of each of them individually so you can ask individual questions. Now what we're going to do is we're going to go into SurveyMonkey. And this is the first screen that you'll see when you type in surveymonkey.com. Now we're going to need to start by signing up. So provide yourself a username. I'm going to call myself Damien Lees. Hopefully that username is available. Select a password that you can remember. I'll give my email address and my details here, and we are creating an account. So now we're all signed in. So what we need to do here is, after we've created the account, we want to start a survey from scratch. Feel free to have a look at the templates and go through the build it for me if you wish, but because we've got quite a lot of special configurations for this particular survey, you're much better off just starting from scratch, and also it'll give you a bit of an idea of how you can develop those surveys as you work through the process. So let's start this survey from scratch. We'll call this Concept Design Selection 1, which, let's just say this is your main concept. The category doesn't matter too much, but let's just say concept, product, or ad testing. I believe that should cover off most of your design approaches. Now we can skip over this. We'll go one question at a time. These don't change a huge amount, but we'll just click one question at a time and we'll go create survey. Okay, so now it's time to create your survey. So the first thing that SurveyMonkey does is it asks you to enter in a multiple choice question just to get the ball rolling. So this could be as simple as age range. So we'll just click the little tab button there, and of course it jumps in and asks you all of these different variables for the age range. So let's just say add all, and we'll click save there. So that's just the first generic question, just to get the ball rolling. And now we can start moving in to looking at the very, very product specific options. So the first thing that we can do is, what we're going to want to look at is the image choice here. You're going to use image choice and image in most instances because this is going to be a very visual survey where you're asking the audience to respond to visual cues. Previously, if you were using this survey to generate a brief, you would probably use a lot less visual cues, but because you're wanting feedback on your new designs, you're going to want to use image choice quite frequently, or image there. So let's go for image choice first, and let's make our first question which logo do you feel best depicts a vegetarian restaurant? So I'm just going to click and drag these from where I saved them on my desktop. So we've got our option 1, we've got our option 2, and we'll hit the little plus sign there to make a new one, and we'll go option 3 here. Now, of course, you will need to carefully consider what questions you ask, but generally this is what you're going to want to do. So if we click save here, so we get this really nice question, and they would be able to, of course, click on which logo they choose there. Now, of course, to save a bit of time, we can just copy this, click copy question, and this has created a second one, which is of course exactly the same question, and we'll just edit that and we'll say, which do you feel stands out most to you? We'll click save there. And again, we're just giving them that option to look and to review. And now we'll look at the full image questions. So what we'll start by doing is we'll put an image in here, which is going to be all 3 items. Now, when you do this, make sure you label the items. See, I'm going to double click on this image here. As you can see, I've written concept 1, concept 2, and concept 3. So what I've done here is I've put this image in, which is just going to present the user with an image with all 3 options. And now I will create some multiple choice questions, which might just want to ask the audience about, we'll turn that into a checkbox instead, sorry, which just wants to ask the audience about what sort of feeling they get from each. So let's say, looking at concept 1, select 3 keywords you feel best describes this business from the list below. So what I'm going to be doing here is I'm going to be using this as an opportunity to put in the 3 keywords that I want to be communicating using the logo, and that is that they are cheap, vegetarian, healthy burgers. So I'm going to slot them in, and then I'm going to put 6 or 7 other describing words in, the audience the opportunity to select items that aren't conducive to what I'm trying to achieve. So I might put in expensive, and then I'll put what I would like them to click on, which is cheap, and then I'll say, let's say perhaps fast food, and let's say unhealthy, And let's say healthy as well. And let's say youthful. And then we could perhaps use additional options such as perhaps environmentally conscious, and what's some other ones? Well, let's put in tasty there. And as a final one, how about we say premium quality. So I've put in a whole bunch here. All of them allow the user the opportunity to select the describing words that you don't necessarily want them to select. And generally what you would do is if you're showing them all three and asking the same question for all three, you would probably want to select the one where most audiences, most respondents for the survey have selected the describing words which describe what you're trying to communicate the best. So I'm going to click save there. So now we've got a handful of questions. We've got our little age range. We've got our couple of little multiple choice image selection questions. And now we're showing them all three and we're saying looking at concept one, and they can check their three tops. And of course I'll just duplicate that and change this one to say looking at concept 2, and so forth and so forth. All right, so now we've got our questions ready. We're going to continue, of course, through that. What you'd be required to do is perhaps throw 10 questions together, all designed to give you a really, really good idea of what the audience is what the logo is trying to achieve and what the audience thinks. Now let's move on to preview and score. Okay, so there's a couple of sort of odd tools around here, but generally speaking, this is roughly what the audience is going to see. So that all looks pretty good. This is a great opportunity to proofread, and if you have any issues at all, you click back to that design survey and it will give you the opportunity to make adjustments. So once you're all happy with that, let's click on Collect Responses. Now we'll click on Send Surveys Your Way. And what I recommend you do is just get a web link so that you can share it with your peers. If you do have email, you could certainly try that. But generally speaking, if you just get the web link, then you'd be able to provide it to your peers using whatever means you like. You can send them a message or add them in Facebook, or you could send them an email, whichever you like. So this is what I would generally request. So you click the copy button, and then of course you've got your little survey, which is all ready. Now I'm going to open in an incognito window now. So I've copied that link. Incognito just means that I've logged out so that I can see what it looks like for someone that's not me. So this is what your users are going to see. So we're going to select our age group here, and then it's going to spit them through. Which do you feel best depicts a veggie? So let's say that one stands out most, that one. Okay, so I've looked at this, I click the OK button, and concept 1, yep. Concept 2, yep. And now I'm just going to go next. And done. So this is what your users are going to see at their end. So I'm going to close that off now. Now I can click on Analyze Results. And I can already see the survey respondents have come in. So of course there's only one respondent, so we've got 100% here. And obviously if you get 10 or more respondents, there's going to be a lot more data here, but these are generally the reports that you're going to get back. So what I'm going to recommend that you do is there's several ways that you can treat this. The first is perhaps just take a screenshot. So open up this, look at concept 1, just take a screenshot and just paste that into Photoshop, or try to just print directly from the screenshot. The other option is, of course, you can write annotations based on this sort of feedback. Or you can write a brief summary that you can stick in to say 100% of respondents believed that this logo looked expensive rather than cheap as such, and then you can really start talking about that and justifying your decision.